Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon to everyone. Let me first take a few seconds for some of the audiences to join because this is live casting in Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Bengal Beyond Borders, a platform where history, diplomacy, and identity intersect beyond traditional headlines and slogans. Tonight's episode, we are going to look at a very difficult question. Can India and Bangladesh move past the suspicion and sentiment to build a relationship grounded in dignity, realism, and mutual respect? Over the years, the relationship between India and Bangladesh has evolved into one of the most strategically important relationships in South Asia. Economically, diplomatically, and geographically, the two countries are intertwined. Yet, beneath the official visits and official statements lies something far more complicated. There are unresolved issues about border sharing, water sharing, trade imbalance, political influence, nationalism, and obviously the rising anti-Indian sentiment, especially among the younger Bangladeshis. At the same time, millions across both countries remain connected through culture, language, liberation over history, commerce, education, and years of shared civilization roots. Tonight, we are going beyond the simplistic narratives. We are going to look at why the, there is rising anti-India sentiment in Bangladesh, whether it is exactly anti-India per se, or is it against any specific policy or action of India? What strategic benefits both country has achieved over the years through cooperation, and what is the future? So to discuss all these questions tonight, I am honored to be joined by Faiz Ahmed. Professionally, he is a financial fraud investigator at Apple and a political analyst, also son of a freedom fighter. And I am honored to be joined by Debadyuti Dasgupta, also a son of a freedom fighter. He is, as he told me, half Bangladeshi and half Indian, so that will be really interesting to learn from him. He works with war history and military arts. Before we begin to talk about the present day, we must go back to history because history is what shapes the relationship. So my first question will be to both guests. How can we define the India-Bangladesh relationship today? Is it fundamentally strategic, emotional, transactional, or yet unresolved? Let me first start with Faiz. Faiz to you.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Anwar Bhai, for inviting me to your show. And I'm deeply honored to be part of this discussion, actually. I am part of the Bangladeshi diaspora in the United States, and every information that I know is through family roots, like my father, who was a freedom fighter, and my mother as well, who was alive at that time, and they have always told me positive remarks about India and their contribution during 1971. But however, I always wondered why that is different with our generation, like the millennials and the Gen Zs. Why do we have such a negative, attitude towards them? So, I think I can definitely conclude at this point that the problem is that different generations perceive it differently. So therefore, like to answer your question, it can be simultaneously all four of them. Like for my dad's generation, India is like solely remembered as a critical ally in 1971. militarily, diplomatically, and humanitarianly, because we know for a fact that 10 million refugees from Bangladesh poured into India during 1971, and those refugees were provided with food, shelter, housing, and also at the same time, India also, assisted the Bangladeshi freedom fighters, who my dad was part of that movement. So they provided us with arms, training, ammunition, and yeah, and India itself, they were going through a great economic crisis back then as well. So and at the same time, the odds were against them. The United States were against them. The major Western powers, they were against them. The Middle Eastern powers, they were against them, and the only superpower that was in support of that freedom movement was the then Soviet Union. So for that, you know, my dad's generation have this perception that they did so much for the independence of Bangladesh back then, and therefore they view India as a favorable ally. They always did. But however, for the younger generation, I think this is what I call the real generation, meaning that they don't do research behind the background and what's going on behind the scene. Pretty much their research is based on a 30 or 40-second propaganda video that is thanks to propagandists like Pinaki Bhattacharya in France and Ilyas in the United States. So that hasn't really helped our generation. They have been internally brainwashed about India at all times, and they have this perception that Bangladesh is being sold to India, and there are all kinds of rumors and accusations. But however, when I speak to the youth, I tend to ask them one question: that do you have any documented evidence that if Bangladesh was ever sold to India, because there are plenty of agreements. There was one in 1974. There was another in 1996. There was another I believe in 2015 or 16. Another in 2008. So there have been roughly about 5 or 6 agreements with India, and I asked them that do you have any kind of documented evidence that Bangladesh is like a lackey of India? So no one can come up with anything. So this is purely based on selective accusations towards India that has been primarily it primarily comes from side of the our side of the border, because individuals like Pinaki or Ilyas, they basically want Bangladesh to be part of Pakistan again, and I am very straightforward about this. There's no sugarcoating. So and in that way, they tend to they have been brainwashing our youth for decades and decades, and it has come to a boiling point to the fact that our youth has some parts of our youth have become so radicalized that now they're attacking the Indian High Commission that we have seen in the month of December. It has gone that extreme, and obviously towards the Indian side, they have their own radicals as well, who are who have these anti-Bangladeshi sentiments. I think one of them is that that there are illegal Bangladeshis in India and all sorts of accusations. And at times, I think it's very much emotionally heated without any kind of data or statistics. I'm not saying that Bangladeshis they go to India illegally, but we need some kind of data, and we do know for a fact that there are all Bangladeshi smugglers and criminals going into India, and that increases tenfold when the Awami League government is not around. So yeah, so India always they have their own security concerns, and Bangladesh, and they always they tend to favor the Awami League government as a result, because they have always protected India's interests, protecting the chicken necks and making sure that radical Islamists are not able to hold ground, which is both beneficial for Bangladesh and India itself, I believe. So yeah, so therefore we have a disconnection over the past couple of decades, and but even then, I still believe that India sees itself as Bangladesh's closest partner and historical friend, and I think many Bangladeshis increasingly ask that if this is friendship, why do unresolved issues continue to exist? And my answer remains the same because from both sides, there are individuals who don't have that interest that Bangladesh and India remains to be lifelong allies. They don't want that to happen. So yeah, that's the best I can answer. I hope that helps.
Yeah. I- I'm sure Mr. Dasgupta is still here, or can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, now the same
I can
question to
hear you,
you.
and the
I
network
see,
was
I see.
very choppy. I had to fix it.
Okay, so the same question to you, Mr.
Could
Gupta.
you
How
repeat that
how
again?
should we yeah, how should we define the
Hello,
India Bangladesh? Hello, hello.
hello.
Yes, can you hear us?
Yeah, the network is very choppy suddenly. I don't know why. I can hear you. I can hear you.
How
Could
should
you
we
repeat
define
the
the
question
India
again?
Bangladesh? Yeah, how should we define the relationship between India and Bangladesh today? Is it fundamentally strategic, emotional, transactional, or still unresolved? How do you define that relationship? Because you have both roots, right?
Hello,
Bangladesh and India. So, yeah. Hello. Hello.
hello.
Yes. Can you hear us? Hello. So it does appear he is having some network issues. So let's continue the discussion. Faiz,
Yeah,
do you think that Bangladesh or Bangladeshis contributes to the deterioration of trust between these two countries?
yeah. I
Do we?
mean, absolutely. I think that is a pretty fair point. I think over the years, when I follow the domestic political tensions in Bangladesh, I think what happens is certain political parties they often use India as a domestic political tool in Bangladesh, and some political actors portray India as a threat to Bangladesh's sovereignty, and others portray India as the ultimate guarantor of stability. But however, I think both are extreme. Both extremes are actually very unhealthy. Uh, because in the end of the day, a major foreign policy cannot be built on emotional dependency or perpetual hostility. So I think Bangladesh must engage India from a position of strategic clarity, neither submission or nor paranoia, because I think both of these extremes are very much hurting the relationships between the two countries. I think you should be perceived as logically and uh, something which is logical. Yeah.
Okay, it looks like Mr. Gupta is back. Can you hear me now? You are muted.
Yeah. The network was. It has really.
I see. Okay, so what, like, according to you, how should we
I can hear
define the
you now.
relationship? Yeah, how should we define the relationship
I
between
can
India
hear
and
you.
Bangladesh? Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes, hello.
I can hear you. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, how should we define the India-Bangladesh relationship today? Is it strategically, like, it is strategic, emotional, or transactional? How do you define the relationship? Because you have both the Indian and Bangladeshi root. So I think you have a unique perspective. How should we define the relationship between these two countries as it stands today to you?
At present time, the Indo-Bangladesh relationship is on a bit of a turmoil, and It has been due to the last 2 years of unity. Of course, you have seen the exceptional anti-India statements and whatever has happened, but before that, it was never like this. There had always whatever government that has tried to come and take power in Bangladesh, especially I would say the Awami League that has come over the years. India has always had a good relationship with the Awami League government, and also historically, I would say it has been up and down the. I mean, with the tide. Of course, in strenuous during times like the Boroibari War that happened between both the countries. But historically, due to the 70 war and much before that, with the era, I mean, during East Pakistan time, when movement between East Pakistan and India, people between both the countries was still very much present. Since that time, and historically, since that time, from the partition till today, it has maintained pretty well. But the government that has come in both the countries, they have made some ups and downs, and they have failed in few places, but mostly it has been a very good relation with both the countries. I would say the BNP has done a little bit more better work than the Yunus government in improving relations with both the countries. And the BNP has also extended a better, I would say, tried to extend a bit more. So both the countries now need to work on maintaining their very, I would say, very strong border situation, their joint economic goals, and also looking after security concerns. As you might have noticed, there has been a big of a, I would say, strenuous relationship between a lot of sects inside Bangladesh, political sections inside Bangladesh, which I would say reflects very negatively towards the entire world, not only just India. And sentiments were never seen before. Inside Bangladesh, we are seeing very recently. Also, I would say in response and retaliation to such anti-India, some anti-Bangladeshi sentiments rising up as well in India. Instead of focusing on these matters, maintaining and correcting their old faults and whatever mistakes their previous governments have made.
So, Mr. Gupta and Faiz, to you both, because he is having some network issues. So, whoever wants to answer it, do you think that India sometimes approaches Bangladesh with a big brother mentality? And if so, has that perception damaged India's image inside Bangladesh? Faiz.
So what I think is, India, both India and Bangladesh, they have had really, fruitful government to government relations. But I think it's the people to people relationship which has, deteriorated over the past couple of decades, and that is due to, our perception that India has this big brother mentality. And I think maybe perhaps to some extent that might be quite truthful, because we have seen a series of border killings over the past couple of years. I think one such killing that comes to the top of my head was the Felani killing in 2012 or 2011, I believe. I think that sparked a lot of anti-Indian sentiment in Bangladesh, and people had this perception that uh, Indian the BJP, the Indian border guard, they were unjustly killing our people. But at the same time, I think the then Awami League government at that time, I don't think they did a lot. They did a whole lot when it comes to like explaining the rules regarding the international border. Because let's say today, like if someone from Mexico is just trying to trying to like unlawfully enter the United States, they might also face similar consequences at
But they might face similar consequences. But I don't think the border patrol of the United States are just gonna shoot them down.
Perhaps not. They would treat them more humanely. But I think at that time, perhaps India, perceived that individual as a threat. But also, to give you a background, I'm not, taking any sides here, but I think our a lot of our folks, they haven't done their research about the Felani killing, because if you check the background of Felani's father, he was trying to enter. So he already entered India, and he was like conducting some illegal business in India related to like perhaps drugs or narcotics, those things. And then he came back to Bangladesh as well. They he the Indian authorities, they were already looking for him, because I think he was not up to any good.
So, now, let me put one of my take on this. Like, no matter how horrific criminal he was, the border authority does not have the right to shoot him or his daughter down. That's my take on it. So, Mr.
Yeah,
Gupta, can you hear me now? Mr. Gupta, can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear
Can you
you.
hear me?
Could you repeat the question
Okay.
again?
Yes, the question is like, do you think that India sometimes approaches Bangladesh with a big brother mentality? And if they do, does that harm India's image inside Bangladesh to you?
Hmm. Okay. Okay. So this is a very interesting question, and I would like to answer from both the perspectives that I've studied. The perception of India, I would say, towards Bangladesh is indeed like we are a little bit of a big country than Bangladesh. It's like stability and the prosperity of Bangladesh. It's like that kind of a sentiment inside Bangladesh, inside India, I would say, towards Bangladesh. Now, this kind of a big brother attitude that you have talked about, this mostly benefits towards maintaining the internal security of India. Now, the reason for this big brother kind of a persona or perception that also Bangladeshi people feel is because before all of this, through East Pakistan time and even after the independence of Bangladesh, there has been numerous cases of Bangladesh
seems like we lost him again. Or
Yeah,
their own,
it does.
yeah, through their own. Hello.
Yeah, yeah, you
Hello.
continue. Yes.
yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, yeah. So I would say, yeah, I would say that Bangladesh, because now there has been involved in promoting insurgency inside Bangladesh. The same insurgency that the not to numerous 1971 war veterans. The same insurgency So this has been going on for some time. So this persona of India, I would say, that is a perception of Bangladesh that India sees us like this, is because of this, mostly because of India facing a national security threat. Whenever the government inside Bangladesh is having anti-Indian sentiments, and the, I would say, view towards the Bangladeshi people, unfortunately, for which these are people who change whenever the government changes, so they cannot be trusted. This is the view, I would say, which I myself have seen very to becoming very concrete after 2024. So like these people change like anything. How can you trust them? And it all sums up to a very negative experience and negative outlook towards Bangladesh, for which a perception builds up inside the Indian people, and which if you took over Bangladesh can become a problem for you. So the view becomes like this, for which people think like people in Bangladesh might think like India is doing some dadagiri on us, but it
So how much
came out
India's
from a logical perspective and a historical, because I've talked to many Bangladeshis, and
how much responsibility does India's domain? I know that the environment in India is a bit heated right now after the election,
so
but how much
another
responsibility
thing
does India?
that on the internal scale, this viewpoint is like, yeah, hello,
Yeah. So how much India's domestic
could you
politics?
repeat that question again?
Yeah. How much India's domestic policy carry weight in shaping Bangladesh's perception? Like the India's domestic politics, does that have any contribution in shaping the narrative inside Bangladesh? Hello. Faiz, did you hear the question, Faiz? Do you think
Yeah, can you
Yeah,
repeat that one
like,
more time?
yeah, could you repeat that? How much of India's
yes,
policies?
yes, how much responsibility does
No, no,
India's
I couldn't
domestic
hear you.
policy?
I couldn't hear you. You have to repeat again. I'm sorry.
Okay. How much responsibility does India's domestic politics carry in shaping Bangladeshi perceptions about India? Does India's domestic policies have anything to do with it? The anti-India sentiment in Bangladesh. Faiz.
I think to in order to like answer this question. So the
Okay.
way. Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah.
the view itself, like the coming of the
Very choppy.
seen as a victory of the central, I mean, of the, I would say, central government, but the BJP is seen very negatively, by the Bangladesh.
Do you want me to answer or
Yes, Faiz, you go ahead.
anyone here?
Do you think India's domestic politics has anything to do
Can you hear
with
me?
the anti-India sentiment?
Can you hear
Faiz?
me?
Yeah, can you? Faiz? Hello.
Hello.
Okay, yeah, better.
Okay, fine. So, do you think the domestic politics of
Hello.
India has anything to do with?
Yeah, I think Miss.
So
Yeah, yeah,
I think in order to answer that question, so we have to.
yeah. That is what I'm coming to.
Okay, yeah,
Like the
but
domestic policy of India, of the present day government of India, with the BJP coming to power in West Bengal. I would like to take that example. So BJP winning in West Bengal is seen very negatively by a special sect. I would say special because I detest them personally. They are seen very negatively by the Jamaat-e-Islami. The Jamaat-e-Islami politics hates the BJP, and this victory of BJP in West Bengal is seen like a threat to Jamaat, not to any other people or sect of Bangladesh, because BNP actually BJP, but it is not working out. But Jamaat sees this as an existential threat. So they try to project that BJP BJP's idealisms will consume Bangladesh very soon. But the policy of India is like this government right now in power in West Bengal, it is presently right now in West Bengal, and the policy it extends towards Bangladesh remains unchanged. Practically it stays unchanged. Probably whatever problems our government of West Bengal, but the policy of the central government stays the same. Now, after the coming of this new state government in West Bengal, people in Bangladesh will see is like might not affect Bangladesh in a very negative way, but the perception, I would say, would be propagated and in whichever possible by a very few percentage of the Jamaat Islami and such 1971 war elements very much. Of India will have some detrimental effects, of course, which will be which will be mistakes which will be coming out later on, and that will be dealt by both the countries and at the top level, of course. But I am afraid, and I am sorry to say, that perception will be spread across in Bangladesh in many different ways. Different narratives will be coming up. So, people to people relations. That is why I always say that people to people relationship between both the countries should improve so that both the countries know what both the countries are thinking. Bangladesh should have a better relationship with not only with West Bengal, Tripura, and Meghalaya and Assam, but also with the rest of India. What which will help to bring and break this narrative of policies so that people can
So,
understand both the countries and both the people can understand what policies both the countries are taking for their own people and for the others.
Guys, uh,
yeah.
how about you? Do you think that India's domestic politics has anything to do with the anti-Indian sentiment? Because he was talking that Jamaat sees BJP as a threat, but what it sounds to me is that Jamaat and BJP both are ideologically the similar kind of. They do politics based on religion. I mean, as far as my very vague understanding, I'm not
I
sure.
mean, if you look at the elections in Bangladesh earlier this year, and if you follow the elections in India, you'll see this pattern that in the border areas in Bangladesh, it's the Jamaat Islami which got elected in almost all the border areas. And I think what happened was there was an instant reaction within the domestic political environment in India. So since a bunch of radical Islamists got elected in Bangladesh. So the domestic political environment in India changed, and I believe BJP was like, we have to win this election at any cost. So I think that's what happened. So it was a reaction because it was a reaction to the elections that happened in Bangladesh because I think the Indian domestic political environment saw the Jamaat Islami as a threat to their security, because from our sides we have these threats coming in that we will tear apart the Seven Sisters, we'll separate the Seven Sisters, and we have all these ridiculous threats coming in from our side. So that had like an immediate impact in West Bengal. So now what we have is domestic. So now we have is a radical, Hindutva party in West Bengal, and a radical Jamaat Islami in Bangladesh, and that does not, result towards peaceful relations eventually, because it's like you're adding fire to the fire now, right?
Anti-India sentiment inside Bangladesh, inside these Gen Zs, do you think that this is exactly anti-India per se, against India, or is it against any specific actions of India? Specific, like what would you say? What is the problem?
The problem is, from our sides, if there's this phrase that if you keep lying way too many times, that eventually becomes a fact, and that's what happened in our side, because after 71, our generations have been brainwashed to believe that our country is being sold to India. We are lackeys of India, and India is like a threat. And Bangladesh is like an Indian state. Then I have heard ridiculous claims that Sheikh Hasina is a raw agent, and all these kinds of claims. But if you really analyze the facts, sometimes there are many instances when Sheikh Hasina has worked against the interest of India. So there has been.
Sheikh Hasina did not work for the interest of India ever. Sheikh Hasina always worked.
Sometimes it was mutually beneficial. But she did not intend to do that. But there has been many instances. So you'll see that she has balanced relations with all the allies, just such as the U.S., such as Russia, India, China. So there, I felt that she
her becoming close to China also played some.
That did. Yes, exactly, and that did. I think I saw many Indian reports from that time that India wasn't liking the proximity to China, but at the same time we had to develop our infrastructures and modernize the country itself. So and China was that partner. So she had to make her moves regardless of who thinks what. And also adding to the fact, you'll see right from 1974, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, he joined the OIC conference in Lahore, Pakistan, and also he toured the entire Middle East, all the Middle Eastern countries, in order for recognition from them. And you'll see that even in that era, Indira Gandhi did not like these moves from Sheikh Mujib. So it is a totally false claim that the Awami League government always acted in favor of India. So and unfortunately, our youth, they just didn't have that those analytical skills to think back and analyze the actual facts. It's instead they started listening to propagandas, which deteriorated the relation with India eventually.
What is the cure, Faiz? Where do we go from here? How do both countries reduce mistrust?
So I think this election has brought one clarity. That is, so for a long time Bangladeshis, they wanted to resolve the Tista issue. I think with the election of this government, I think there's a little bit of hope that the Tista matter gets eventually resolved, and I hope that happens. And if that happens, if we get the fair share of our water, I think that is a very positive step that can happen. And also, uh, I believe in so I'm not really fond of this, BJP government. I'm not a fan of them. I've never been. But there's a saying that the enemy of your enemy is sometimes a friend, and we might see the re-emergence of the Army League itself again, because of the recent elections. Um, and we have seen the elected chief minister claiming that that Sheikh Hasina will be brought into Bangladesh with full honors from the Bangladesh military. So yeah, I strongly believe in this phrase that the enemy of your enemy might be a friend sometimes, and we can hope for the best, because right now, the for the last 2 years, every political party has failed in Bangladesh. Right now, we have a measles crisis going on. We have more than 300 kids who have already died, and because of the reckless actions taken by the interim government. They did not work with the United Nations. Muhammad Yunus, he wanted to give away that measles responsibility to his friends in order to make some profits for himself and his NGOs. And we are seeing right now how it has failed terribly. And right now we have a prime minister who would rather go to movies, and ride bumper cars with his friends and families, without even analyzing the situation that is happening in his own country. And I think he is, he's a terrible weak prime minister. He doesn't know how to balance relations with all the superpowers. We are seeing that already. And a lot of people in our country, starting from the rickshaw drivers, starting from the small business owners, they are able to make that comparison. And we are already hearing things like Sheikh Hasina knew how to balance relations with all the superpowers. She knew how to upheld the sovereignty of Bangladesh itself. And yeah, and people are waking up. And uh, if you look at history, all the revolutions, the leaders which were toppled, they never made a comeback. Be that Saddam Hussein, Gaddafi, Assad. But right now I think we might see a successful counter-revolution in the future, because no other political party has able to gain this much support from the people itself.
Let me
So
let me let me let me
yeah,
humbly disagree a bit here. Is that there was no revolution in Bangladesh?
yeah, it's a so-called revolution. Yeah, I agree with
Yeah, there
that.
was no revolution, and there is no chance of for that. There has to be a revolution, right?
Yeah.
But Mr. Gupta, I think your internet is better now. So can you hear me?
I
Can
can
you
hear
hear
you.
me?
I can hear you.
Okay. So where do we go from here, Mr. Gupta?
I can
How
hear
do
you.
how where do we go from here? What is the cure? How can we bridge the mistrust between these two countries? What is your thoughts on that about the future?
Okay. Okay. First of all, I understand the question. Now, as I have told you, that both the countries need to work on a few policies, and they have to fix their own issues that have cropped up in the last 17 to 20 years. First thing I would say that all the fake narratives and propaganda against India that has been made inside Bangladesh, they need to be stopped and be taken care of. Whoever right now is there in power. Second of all, Bangladesh, the perception of Bangladesh in India, as I have mentioned, is not very nice. That perception has to be brought out that in India, of course, that all the anti-Indian activities that have been propagated inside Bangladesh through Bangladesh are not a making by the people of Bangladesh. Most of the people of Bangladesh have a very, I would say, hearty connection with India. Many of their relatives live here. People come from Bangladesh to India for medical treatment. People come for tourism. I've seen all of that. Same with India. The bordering states of India have many relatives living in Bangladesh itself. All of this connection, this people to people connection, has to be made, and it has to be made clear that all the anti Indian activities made from inside Bangladesh are done by a very small amount of people. That not only involves Jamaat Islami but also elements of Bangladesh armed forces and also some political parties. This perception has to be built in India as well, that not the entire country of Bangladesh wants corruption and wants the chicken neck. Those kind of things, I would say. It has to be said that small amount of people. If you hate a entire country because of a people, that is not right by my perceptions. People to people connections, like India always I mean, India and Bangladesh both gives scholarships to countries. I mean, people. Sorry, to students who come from Bangladesh to India, India to Bangladesh for higher studies. This has to be increased more. Unfortunately, I've seen that India has been giving. I think it's a fault of the Indian High Commission that India has been giving many universities scholarships to people from Bangladesh without background in merit. Gupto Jamaat Shibir. That has happened. India has also given, I would say, scholarships, many kind of medical aid as well to Mukti Jodhas and their families. Bangladesh also needs to do the same and empower that the relationship between India and Bangladesh improves. Why does it have to be only India and Bangladesh who are in power? Why the Awami League is not there in power? I have this question for a very long time. Why the situation worsens when there is a military takeover or when there is BNP in power? And why does always BNP in power? Bangladeshi politics, I'm not talking of the Awami League now, but Bangladeshi political parties have to come out from this sentiment of being anti-liberation war. The left in Bangladesh has been involved in insurgencies during Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's time. Jamaat, Jamaat history everybody knows. BNP allying with Jamaat, and even Tariq Rahman made comments like Jamaat and BNP are from the same mother. BNP has to come out from such a mentality. I'm talking very apolitically right now, but any political party, despite their political allegiance, have to come out from anti-1971 war, liberation war elements, anti-liberation war element and sentiments. They have to accept 1971, and they have to accept the fact that they have to come out of unification with Pakistan, whatever it might be, and following American CIA narratives and their operations. They have to understand that in the future, if they have to stay in power, they have to maintain good relationships with their neighbors. So Bangladesh take that narrative and should take that narrative inside them, and India has to understand that Bangladesh actually is only in the country. It is only when the government changes, some people become a bit of a nutcase. I hope you understand. And therefore, India has to see how it can promote welfare inside Bangladesh, like India has invested in various projects in Bangladesh. India has helped Bangladesh in various infrastructure, oil pipeline, education, and also in the corporate sector as well. Bangladesh can also do the same with, not only with, again, Bangladesh has to do the same not only with the bordering states of India, but also with the rest of India. Bangladeshi businesses like Tran is inside they're operating very well in West Bengal. I hope they reach also in Bangladesh. At the same time, Bangladesh cannot rely on other nations for its imports so much like how much it does on India. You go to Bongaon right now, you will find truckloads, mostly Indian trucks, going inside India. Bangladesh is heavily dependent on India. How many trucks are delivering potatoes to myself compared to how many Bangladeshi trucks are coming inside India? Bangladesh is heavily dependent on India, and India has to respect that, has to understand its security challenges, has to understand that Bangladesh as a population is not a hostile country. Except for the handful, you know who I'm talking about. Bangladesh has to understand advance insurgency. That is the only way forward, and I would say that has to happen, and that has to happen with good relationships not with the Awami League but with the other political parties. Now it all depends upon whether these political parties will take a stance or not, and I'm as of now not seeing such. I hope you understand.
Yeah, yeah. So Faiz, the
Hello.
yeah, I understand. Thank you for your input. Faiz, the last question. I would go with the last question to you. So, including Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, a large number of Awami League politicians are in India right now. Many of them faces criminal charges inside Bangladesh, and the Bangladesh government keeps asking India about legal repatriation. How do you think India should act, or whether what India will do if they continue to keep these political elements inside India? Will that harm the India-Bangladesh relationship? Last question.
Well, yeah. Well, first of all, in order for India to send back the Army League leaders, Bangladesh has to give a few guarantees to India, and that is, the law and order will proceed according to the law and order itself, and that the former politicians, they'll be treated humanely, and they have to guarantee that there will be no mob violence. There will be no loss of life. Because we have already seen that a number of Army League leaders have already passed away in prison, and uh, as long as these guarantees are not made from the Bangladeshi side, I don't think as a law-abiding country, I don't think India is going to send these people back, because we all thought that after a political party gets elected in Bangladesh, that there will be some semblance of law and order. But unfortunately, we have not seen that either in during the term of the BNP government. And I know they have only been here for, I think, 3 months, but they haven't shown such uh, progress that they're able to that they're able to allow the law and order to proceed proceed naturally. I don't think that's happening, and we some of I think some of the characteristics of the Bangladeshi law is very comparable to a lot of the developing countries in Africa right now, which have Congo, Liberia, or Guinea-Bissau. countries with virtually no law and order. So we are seeing these very traits in Bangladesh itself, and unless the Bangladeshi law cannot function properly, I don't think India will send the former Army League leaders back to Bangladesh.
Thank you, Faiz. Thank you. So, as we end today, tonight's discussion reminds us that relationship between nations are never built through slogans alone. India and Bangladesh share rivers, borders, history, sacrifice, language, and years of intertwined human experiences. But they also share mistrust, unresolved grievances, competing nationalism, and political anxieties that continue to shape the future of South Asia. The challenge before both nations is not whether disagreements exist, because disagreements between nations, between partners, are natural. But the real question is whether those disagreements will continue to fuel hostility or whether they can become the foundation for a mature, honest, and respectful relationship. Because ultimately, geography does not change, history does not disappear. And stability in South Asia may depend on whether Dhaka and Delhi can learn to engage each other not through fear or political convenience, but through strategic wisdom and mutual respect. This is Bengal Beyond Borders, and I'm Anwar Shadat Jihan signing off. Thank you to both our guests for your time.
Thank you.